Okay, I got 3 layers of clothes on and I'm so cold.
I've got my coat here.
I got 3 long sleeves on.
I think Brian, because he's cold, so Brian Stone,
Oh.
I think is going to look to see what he can do.
I think this is your jacket.
Oh, thank you, yes.
Put it on the wrong. Wow, look at it. He gets coat service. Jeez. For some reason I had it.
I haven't looked at that yet,
Yeah,
and
what
it's
is-
too small for me to see, so.
Is this somebody
guess
playing for,
it's-
somebody playing for opposition or something?
Allie said she's gonna call it.
Yeah.
She's like,
You should be all good to go.
all right. Let's start here with. All right, are we ready on the left? Ready on the right? You good to go? All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regularly scheduled City Council meeting for November 15, 2022. My name is Mark Clark. I'm the mayor. I'll call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Clark,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Castle,
Here.
Councilmember Spear,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson, Councilmember Neal,
Present.
Councilmember Mortensen,
Here.
Councilmember Providence.
Here.
All right, next item on the agenda, Small Business Saturday Proclamation. So this is declaring Saturday, November 26, 2022 as Small Business Saturday in the city of Evans, Colorado. Whereas Small Business Saturday was created in 2010 as a way to celebrate and support small businesses and all they do for their communities. And whereas the city of Evans celebrates our own small independent businesses and their year-round contribution to the local economy, businesses create jobs, generate tax revenue, and provide valuable services and products. And whereas, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently over 30 million small businesses in the U.S. that were responsible for creating 2/3 of all net new jobs between 2000 and 2019. And whereas consumers shopping on Small Business Saturday in 2021 spent over $23 billion in support of those businesses ahead of the busy holiday season. And whereas communities across the country continue to endorse the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturdays and encourage shoppers to shop small throughout the holiday season. And now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Mark Clark, Mayor of Evans, along with the members of City Council, do hereby proclaim November 26, 2022 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of Evans and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants not only on Small Business Saturdays but throughout the entire year. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Evans, Colorado, this 15th day of November 2022. And I see that we have a lot of our friends from the Evans Chamber here, so if you'd like to come up, I will present this to you.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Good evening. I am Jennifer McCray with the Evans Area Chamber of Commerce. And we want to thank Mayor Clark and the City of Evans and City Council members for recognizing small business during this holiday season. The Evans Area Chamber of Commerce knows how small businesses affect our economy and our community. A majority of our chamber members are small entrepreneurs and solopreneurs having 1 to 5 employees in their businesses. When you support these small local businesses, including those that work from home, offering goods and services to the storefront shops, you are supporting a local family. These families work to promote their businesses, to put food on their tables, keep their children in activities, and put a roof over their heads. As someone who comes from a family-owned and ran business, and who has run my own business for over 10 years, I know what it means to shop small and local. As we go into the holiday season where we purchase a little more for our families, please remember to shop local businesses and home-based businesses. Go to the Evans Area Chamber website or Google search for local businesses before going online to Amazon or big corporate stores. We know the convenience of next day delivery, that shopping local helps our neighbors. The Evans Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, members, and staff want to thank the City of Evans for promoting and supporting our small businesses this season. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right, next item on the agenda, audience participation. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address City Council on any item that is not on the agenda or of a public hearing? If so, please step forward to the podium. Seeing none. All right. Next item, approval of the agenda. Madam Clerk, any changes to the agenda?
Mayor Clark, I would like to amend the agenda to remove item number 11 under new business, the Eastside Storm Sewer contract.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the amended as agenda. All of those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item, consent agenda. Item number 2, approval of the November 1st, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. Item number 3, consideration of ordinance number 785-22 to amend several sections of Title 18 of the City of Evans Municipal Code and to add a definition of taxidermy to identify which zone districts taxidermy may be located, and to add additional land use permit application requirements for conditions for criteria of approval for taxidermy land use. Second reading. Item number 4, consideration of resolution number 41-2022, ratifying the appointment of certain nominees to the Board of Trustees to the High Plains Library District.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Moving on, new business. Item number 5, consideration of contract with D2C Architects Incorporated for the Evans Police Station Architect and Design Services, and we'll hear from staff.
Yes, Mayor and council members, staff is very pleased to be able to present this recommendation for a contract for architectural services this evening. This is the next significant step moving forward with the police station property. Brian Stone, our senior projects manager, here to describe the process, the very strenuous process we went through to determine the recommended architectural contractor for your consideration tonight. And we do have representatives of both our owner's representative and the architectural firm being recommended that would like to introduce themselves to you as Brian completes his presentation. So.
Thank you, Randy. Good evening, Mayor Clark and members of council. Brian Stone, Senior Project Manager. Like Randy mentioned, I'm here this evening for consideration of contract for the Evans Police Station Architecture and Design Services. The city has been, since we brought on the Artaic Group, meeting regularly with them, and then we sat down and developed a scope for architectural services. And those items include programming and conceptual design. In the last couple years, you guys have done some design to kind of see, but we want to make sure that aligns with what we're looking for today. Schematic design documents, design development documents, construction documents, as well as construction administration, and then they'll also assist with the closeout and the warranty period. We advertised the request for qualifications on the Rocky Mountain e-purchasing system as well as the City of Evans website on August 18th, and we received 6 responses. A selection committee was then formed to narrow that down, and we utilized a scoring matrix and criteria to rate those proposals. That included the firm's history and capacity, the qualifications of the proposed team. Each one of these firms has different teams that are there, so we wanted to know who was actually going to be representing the City of Evans project. Similar project experience, project approach, differing characteristics, as well as references. Following that evaluation, the selection committee narrowed this down to 3 firms. At that time, each firm was asked to provide fees for architectural services, law enforcement design specialists, and interior design. The city and the Artea Group will work with the selected firm to procure the remaining subconsulting for engineering subconsultants for the project. This will be an additional fee in contract, anticipated to be around $1 million in the future, and this will be brought to you guys at a later date for consideration. This approach, we feel, is a better way to look at things. It provides the selection committee an opportunity to have their input on these sub-consultants as we move through this process. So at that time, each firm of the top 3, each of them were asked to provide fees for architectural services for that law enforcement design specialist and interior design. Those 3 firms that were selected were brought in for the interview process. Though we saw their proposals and stuff, we really wanted to get a better understanding of what they would do for our project here at the City of Evans. The city then, or the committee then looked at the matrix to determine the ranking of each firm, and following these rankings, D2C Architects came out with a #1 overall ranking. Following the interviews, the Artea Group and city staff called multiple references to confirm our findings, as well as obtain additional information to make sure that we were comparing apples to apples on the proposals and the fee schedules. D22 Architect was able to distinguish themselves through their unique approach to achieving client-specific goals, and their inclusion of the BSW architects and law enforcement specialists, along with their lower fee, made them rose to the top of our list for selected firms. The 2022 budget does include $2 million for expenses related to the police station. The City Council also has committed an additional $3.3 million for a total project right now available for $5.3 million. A portion of this budget was identified to fund the architectural services for this project. The city does not have any experience or prior experience with D2C, though other Front Range municipalities, including Northglenn, Thornton, and Edgewater, have done similar projects and gave strong recommendations. D2C Architects is based out of Denver and has 10 years experience doing similar projects. D2C alone could do this project, but has added the public safety design specialist, BSW, out of Texas to assist with this design. BSW has been in business for 47 years and has designed police stations all over the country. With the quality of the proposal, the interview, along with the recommendations received, staff would recommend awarding the architectural and design services contract to D2C Architects in the amount of $1,149,235 with a contingency of around 10%, we did round up just a little bit, to cover any changes required to unknown conditions over the project for a not to exceed amount of $1,265,000. Like Randy mentioned, we do have representation from our owner's rep, Joni Fournier, along with Brian Duggan with D2C Architects. And I apologize, Ryan, I missed your last name as we were introducing. So we have additional representation from D2C as well. So I'd like to give them just a quick opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Sounds good, thanks.
I'll go first. So I'm Joni Fournier. I'm with the Artea Group, and this has been an honor to work with Brian and Randy and the group. So we're just really grateful for the project and look forward to producing a wonderful police station, but we're here to hopefully approve D2C, so I'll have Brian come up.
Good evening. My name is Brian Duggan. I'm a principal architect with Sorry. I'm a principal architect with D2C. I'm also president of the firm, and I've been practicing architecture in Colorado for over 20 years. We, D2C, specialize in public safety and municipal design projects with an emphasis on law enforcement. As Brian mentioned, it's a great honor to be considered for your project, and we're going to take great pride in designing the Chief's new facility. We can take any questions, but we don't have anything specially prepared. Hopefully you've all seen our proposal and understand our what we bring to the table, and we're just really excited about this project, this opportunity.
So that's all we have. We'd be happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Questions, comments, staff, or D2C?
I'll go quickly. I think, I unfortunately was not able to be there when firms were interviewed, but the consensus that I heard from everybody who was there was how great each firm was. I think that should be taken into consideration, as I think it speaks volumes to the work you do, that you were able to stand out amongst really the best. I mean, when you looked through the RFPs, they were all very high quality. Your RFP is fantastic, but to see that kind of stand out in scale, I think speaks volumes to the work that's performed. Looking through the work that has been done and seeing that firsthand and really going through that, I think is fantastic, and I'm excited and in large support of this proposal.
Any other additional questions, comments? I have to agree with what Mayor Pro Tem said. One of the big things I'm looking forward to is not only getting you on board, but this is just the next step of finally getting that police station project going. So definitely in support of this, so thank you. Is there no other additional questions or comments? I would entertain a motion.
I move to award the architectural and design services contract to the D2C Architects, Inc. in an amount of $1,149,235 with a 10% contingency to be used only with city manager approval for a not to exceed amount of $1,265,000.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to award the architectural and design services contract to D2C Architects Incorporated in the amount of $1,149,235 with a 10% contingency to be used only with city manager approval for a not to exceed amount of $1,265,000. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, item number 6, consideration of approval of a development agreement with Asphalt Specialties in association with property annexation into the city of Evans, ordinance number 759-22, and we'll hear from staff.
Yes, Mayor and council members, as you recall, earlier this year, there was an annexation and change of zoning, or designation of zoning, for a property to accommodate the Asphalt Specialty Project, which is located along County Road 394 on both sides of the future right-of-way that will be 35th Avenue. So the next step in this process is consideration of the development agreement. Our Community Development Director, Ann Bess Johnson, is here to present that.
Thank you, Mr. Reedy. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, you've been provided with a new staff agenda memo that contains an updated motion. So as you can remember, that this is the future right-of-way for 35th Avenue, and this is County Road 394. These are the 3 parcels. One was already in Evans. These 2 now are in Evans. So the annexation was approved on April 19th, 2022, and the change of zone applications were approved the same date through ordinances 758 and 759-22. The total acreage is about 150 acres. A site plan was submitted, and many referral agencies, including Weld County, the town of LaSalle, CDOT, the Fire Protection District, and Evans departments and divisions. They all provided comments. We had, 24 conditions of approval that needed to be met prior to bringing forth the development agreement to you this evening. There's one condition of approval that was met last Monday. We are just waiting to get that final copy of the road maintenance agreement with LaSalle. The applicant is present, or the applicant's representative is present this evening, and he has it on his phone. He just needs to get it to us, and that agreement with LaSalle is completed. So what you have in front of you is a little bit different than a normal development agreement that is presented to council. And that's because they have no public improvements that are needed with this application. They do have some potential improvements that would include a trailhead and donating a trail easement with the potential of donating additional land to the city for a regional park in the future. So the term of the agreement is for the standard 3 years, and that's in section 5 of the development agreement in your packet. There's an exception to this term inclusive of the developer's right to operate the gravel mine in a batch plant operation for 20 years. An extension to this current term could be negotiated between the city and the developer at that time in the future. Section 7 of the development agreement references that an on-site wastewater treatment system may be used for sanitary sewer operations, and that system is to be permitted through Weld County. Exhibit C1 contains a listing of the developer's obligations to the city, inclusive of that trailhead, the future and construction of the trailhead, the easement for a trail, and that the developer may also dedicate all or a portion of the properties for use as a regional park to the city of Evans. Exhibit D is where a letter of credit would have been located. However, after working with the city attorney's office and the applicant, there are no public improvements within the city, and therefore that section has been provided with verbiage to indicate that a warranty may be necessary in the future if public improvements are warranted, such as if the city annexes Weld County Road 394, or if 35th Avenue comes through and what those impacts may be. And then Exhibit E defines the haul route. So we've put all of that in this development agreement, and the development agreement is the final item besides receiving a copy of the LaSalle Road Maintenance Agreement, and then we can record that site plan. And again, there were about 24 conditions of approval, and the applicant did meet all of those. And I am available to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for staff? No. Pretty straightforward to me. All right. If there's no questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the development agreement for Asphalt Specialties and authorize the mayor to sign the development agreement after the executed road maintenance agreement between Asphalt Specialties and the town of LaSalle has been provided to the City Community Development Department.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the development agreement for Asphalt Specialties and authorize the mayor to sign the development agreement after the executed road maintenance agreement between Asphalt Specialties and the town of LaSalle has been provided to the City Community Development Department. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Can I get a roll call vote on that?
Mayor Clark,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Castle,
Aye.
Councilmember Spear,
Nay.
Councilmember Neal,
Aye.
Councilmember Mortensen,
Aye.
Councilmember Providence.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-1. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, item number 7. Public hearing, consideration of resolution number 29-2022 to annex certain land known as the Aliano property east of Brantner Road and west of West Service Road into the city of Evans in consideration of ordinance number 783-22, an application to zone parcels to 85 RCR if annexed to the city of Evans. I will open up the public hearing and we'll hear from staff.
Yes, Mayor and council members, earlier this year, you did entertain an annexation petition and approved that, which set the date for this, what's before you this evening, which is consideration of annexation. and also of consideration of zoning classification. So there is an ordinance and a resolution in front of you this evening. Ann Bess Johnson, our Community Development Director, will describe those for you.
Thank you, Mr. Reedy, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. So this evening, we do have several concurrent applications that are being considered. The first is the annexation and annexation agreement with a change of zone. That's what's before you this evening. We'll next hear the special use permit and the development agreement, which is being proposed for continuance. And then also in administrative review then are drainage, access, and any building permits that may be needed. So this location is, again, it's a triangular shaped area, and the eastern boundary is West Service Road, and the western boundary is Brantner Road, and the parcel at 4235 is the northernmost parcel that is in unincorporated Weld County. Then the two parcels that are just south of that are in Evans right now. And then there are three parcels that constitute 4311, and that is in unincorporated Weld County. So surrounding properties include the Sinclair gas station to the north. The east side, of course, is US 85. South are auto dealerships, a historic auto dealership there at 4405. And then to the west is the industrial park and industrial uses. The properties are currently in unincorporated Weld County are currently in violation of the Weld County Code. So the properties in Evans that are adjacent also have issues. But bringing all properties together, we have been working with the property owner and his consultants who are here this evening. The property owner knows that coming into Evans means he will bring the property into compliance. There's a lot of work to be done on these properties. Nobody is ignoring that. Nobody is denying that. The property owner admits it himself, and I have some photos for you tonight. So this is an opportunity for the city of Evans to work with this property owner in a highly visible area in Evans to bring it into compliance and give us an opportunity to have a say in what our front door looks like. It's not an attractive property today. Nobody is denying that. And the property owner and their representative can affirm the intent is to get it into compliance with the city code. The city has not pursued violation with the properties that are in the city of Evans, as the property owner has been diligently working with the city and actually has been cleaning the properties up. He's developing a master plan for this entire site. And he will need to continue making diligent efforts to bring the property into compliance following the annexation. So the next few slides were taken within the past week of the sites, how they are today. These photos illustrate that the property is currently not attractive, the potential violations that exist, and that these photos illustrate an opportunity again for the city of Evans. The structures have some historic integrity, and there is a lot of opportunity again to improve the properties through fencing, screening, paving, landscaping, removing unlicensed vehicles from the site, etc. So this first site is on Brantner Road. The photo on the left is south looking north on Brantner Road. The properties are on your right or to the east. The fence on the right-hand side photo is about at the south end of that northernmost triangle property, and it's looking south. So the property is on your left or the east side of that fence. Some portions of the fence are falling down. Other portions of the fence are in good repair. So this next slide is on Brantner Road. It is one of those middle parcels. This lot used to be completely filled with vehicles, and it is in the process of being cleared out. This next slide is of that northernmost triangular property. There, it used to be filled with vehicles. It is in the process of being cleared as well. The majority of the vehicles are licensed, and it's being used as parking. The sidewalk here, it's a city trail. There is parking that's occurring further down south with this property owner on the trail. I know he is working on getting those vehicles off of that trail. Moving down south then, this is that building we just looked at. This is on that same parcel, and he does have some screening. Again, this property has been cleaned up, what it used to look like, more than what it used to look like. This is then from that spot looking further south. That just happened to be pickup that pulled up while I was taking photos, so I don't think it's permanently parked there. It was just wanting to know what I was doing. But as you can see, there are some vehicles parked on site. There is no screening. There is no landscaping. This property is in Evans. Then this is just a few steps further down south, looking back at the main facility. You know, there are a lot of vehicles, but they are parked tidy. They will be proposing additional screening and landscaping. The next slide then is just moving on down a little bit more, looking back up north, and some of those vehicles, you know, again, are parked on that trail, which cannot continue to occur. Again, moving down further south, this is one of the parcels at 4311 that is in unincorporated Weld County. And then the last slide, this is just south of that building. The building actually looks like it's recently been painted, but this is looking into the storage area. And again, this area used to be filled with automobiles, and he has been working at getting that cleaned out. So this next slide illustrates the particular parcels in this circular area. This is our future land use map. And I did zoom in and I confirmed that it is prime for industrial type development per our future land use map. Moving on to then the next slide. This very simply shows you the existing conditions. So the area that's in a triangle, that's that northernmost parcel. West is up on this slide, north is to your right. So we have Brantner Road here. You come down this frontage road by the Sinclair station. You wrap around, this is West Service Road. Here is the trail or the sidewalk. There will be a crossing in this location that the property owner is responsible to provide that pedestrian crossing to connect to this trail. This is the second parcel. It's actually three parcels, three funky parcels. And once you determine if this will be annexed and zoned into the city, one of the next steps is to submit a replat to vacate some of those internal lot lines. So there are a lot of buildings, a lot of outbuildings, a lot of potentially historic structures that if they are cleaned up could bring some charm to the area. But this is what the property currently looks like. They are proposing to change zone to 85 RCR, which is consistent with the parcel that's currently in Evans, as well as the other parcels to the south. This slide is a very high-level overview of the proposed conditions. There will be paved parking. There will be paved drive lanes. The buildings will remain. Some of the outbuildings may be torn down. But you can see there are formal entrances, the screening. They do have a landscape plan. I just didn't put it on this slide. And so the process flow, again, for you as well as members of the audience, there's a pre-application process, lots of meetings on this particular case, probably 18 months of meetings on this case. that coordination with Weld County compliance, coordination with the property owner, preparing application requirements, talking with engineering. There will be a future stormwater main improvement in West Service Road. So talking about relocating that trail to the east side of West Service Road. Can we close West Service Road somehow? What are some opportunities that we can do to improve this area? Again, it's one of our front doors. So how do we make the improvements? Then the application is received and it goes through processing, public notice, surrounding property owner notice. To date, we've not heard from anyone on this particular land use application. Many development review team meetings, staff report and submittal and resubmittal and getting it just so that we can approve the annexation and change the zone. Public notice, the sign, it was posted July and August, and it was still there last night, so the sign's still there. And then public hearings, we did have a planning commission on the 27th, and then city council first reading tonight for the change of zone, and then only reading for the annexation, and then the second reading for change of zone is on the 6th of December. And then this is the criteria for approval for a combined change of zone with annexation. And you could say, what's in this for Evans to annex this parcel? It's a great question, and one that we really talked about with the applicant and their representative as well. And the biggest benefit to the city in approving this annexation and the change of zone request is that the entire property will be in Evans, and the entire property can be viewed as one unit, and we can have that say in how the property develops in the future, versus having a portion stay in Weld County, a portion in Evans, or they could ask for all of it to go to unincorporated Weld County. In items B through D, there really hasn't been an error in previous zoning, but this is a long-standing historic use of the property, and when it's annexed, it will be grandfathered with these uses. The applicant has made plans and has made a lot of effort to clean the property up in the past 6 to 9 months. So I was pleasantly surprised when I drove by, because what I saw this summer was not what I would hope for, but I was pleased when I drove by. The remaining items on this list here have been addressed and will be addressed in that special use permit application review. Referral agencies have reviewed the annexation, the change of zone, and the special use permit application. Site-specific items will be addressed during the special use permit agenda item. And the applicant is aware that change is required on the property. The applicant has submitted that special use permit, and staff is in the final stages working with the applicant to review grading, because it's a challenge on this site, getting the site to drain towards that new stormwater main. There are a hurdle with the existing sanitary sewer connection. They currently do have water taps with the city, and there will be a development agreement that will be presented to you all. We are trying to get them married with the special use permit. It's just a little bit more detailed and complicated than others might be. The site does need attention, and the applicant is aware of that. So moving back, just to take a look at the current lay of the land. So what we're looking at tonight is annexing and zoning in both the triangle and the almost rectangle parcels that are illustrated on this map, so that all of them will be able to be reviewed as one master plan.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. And so staff is recommending approval of the annexation and the change of zone. It did go to Planning Commission, and Planning Commission did say that should you decide to annex, that they do recommend the zoning request as well. In your packets, there have been some challenges getting the legal description to close. There's just been some historic funkiness with the boundaries of the property, but the applicant has worked, Mark Oberschmidt reviewed the legal description, and the Weld County Clerk and Recorder has also reviewed the legal descriptions, and everybody now is in agreement that they close. So in your packet, I have here to give you, the first item is the revised legal description for the resolution. The second item is the revised legal description, they're the same thing, but for the ordinance. And the third thing is for the exhibit to the annexation agreement, which is a map, and it includes the legal description as well. So those are coming to you just as an addition to the packet for the revised, most current and corrected legal descriptions. And that concludes staff's presentation. I am available to answer any questions, and I know the applicant's representative is also here to make a presentation.
Awesome. We'll wait till you hand those out, and then we'll ask any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there any questions for staff and or the applicant's representative?
I have a lot, but I'll let everybody else go because I seem to take everyone's questions.
Questions?
Oh, nobody has them.
I have a question.
All right, go ahead, Councilman Providence.
You said there's an issue with the drainage issue. Do you know what directly is the issue?
The site is pretty flat, and so it just has a hard time moving. And the grading permit is being reviewed, and it's just a difficult site to get to drain. And so it will drain. It's just getting it graded. And the applicant's representative can probably talk a little bit more detailed about that. But they are working very closely with our engineering department.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions, but I'm gonna let Councilwoman Spear go and see if they get answered with yours. So.
Okay, you look like the bad guy.
I'll give you the opportunity to ask the questions.
Mine probably will get answered.
You got this stuff today?
I received that a couple weeks ago. I just forgot to update it.
Okay, it would be nice if we could have more than 2 minutes to read this stuff.
So it's the legal description.
That's fine. Okay. So who's initiating this annexation? Is it the city or is it the applicant?
The applicant?
Okay. And along that lines, I know you have a list of why the city would benefit from this, but what's the applicant's benefits then?
What has been communicated to me is that they would like to come into the city so that they can develop the entire site as one master plan. Part of it is already in the city, and that the two outside portions are not, and it's more beneficial to them to work with one jurisdiction than two on developing a master plan.
Okay, that makes sense. So let me see, I got a couple of questions and I want to see which one is more important here. So in the past, this has been a used car lot sale, used car lot sales, I guess. What's the proposed, what are the Arianos going to do with this? Are they going to continue a used car lot or?
Car sales and repair will be continued as they're clearing out some of those storefronts and spaces. Other uses that fall within the 85 RCR district can move in and lease, as long as they're complying with our zoning code and those district requirements.
Okay, so what agreement do you have with the Arianos then as to the proposed cleaning up of this? I know that they are doing some cleanup on it right now. So what is the written agreement, or at least the verbal agreement that you have that, of the time frame?
So the annexation agreement covers items pertaining to the annexation of the property. The development agreement that will be presented to you all in the next couple months will detail when those triggering events are to clean the site up, when to put up the fencing, the screening, the landscaping, connection to city sanitary sewer. Those are all development-related items that will be presented in the development agreement.
Okay, so nothing has been mentioned to you about that in advance?
Well, we all admit that there is something that needs to be done, and we all agree that it needs to be done sooner than later. And what I witnessed is that it is taking place, that the properties are in the process of being cleaned up. So I've not asked Mr. Ariano to make a commitment to a drop dead date because we wanted to make sure that it would be annexed and zoned first and then work through all of those details through the development agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, so along those lines, I appreciate that work is taking place now. I think that's a strong gesture of the desire to be in the city. What is the let me think how I want to word this, I apologize. What do we have to stand on after annexation? If they're annexed in, then what? To Councilwoman Spears' point, what ties them to getting that work done? And what do we have an ability to do should things not be getting taken care of?
We have a compliance process. So number one, they would be annexed and zoned in the city. They know that they have to have a land use development application approved. If they continue to operate without a permitted land use application, that's one area of compliance that we can follow up on. The other area of compliance is just how the property is being used. If more non-licensed vehicles are moved on, if more incompatible or even nuisance conditions continue to exist on the property without any follow-through, they can just get to know our neighborhood compliance team a lot better.
Okay. Yeah, I think, and maybe this will come with a development agreement, but I think having those dates of getting those items addressed would be advantageous for everybody. I think it's difficult. I'm not sure how we got to this point, and that is one of my questions, is what got that property to this point? Because I used to live in a place where I would drive that road very regularly, and I think that's been a nuisance for some time, but how did it get there? And was there a change of ownership that led us to where we are today? Was there perhaps, and I apologize as I don't know a better way to say this, but a maturity in the individuals who are running it in their business to look at it and say, hey, from our business perspective, it's far more advantageous to have this cleaned up and those sorts of things?
So in conversation early on, the applicant said that they want to make an investment in bringing the entire property together. And again, working with that one jurisdiction. I can't speak for the applicant and their personal motivations, but maybe the applicant's representative can share a little bit more of what those motivations are to come to the city. But from what I heard from Mr. Ariano is that he wants to work with one jurisdiction. He knows he needs to clean up the properties, and he wants to come into Evans. Could that be because he's in violation with the county? Of course. Could that be that he knows that he could be in violation with the city, but that we were holding back a little bit because he's showing efforts to make improvements, and he's participating in this. Maybe that helped encourage him to get things cleaned up a little bit too, knowing that we would be open as long as we saw that progress being made. But those are a lot of assumptions, and I don't like to make assumptions.
So I guess specific questions then, why didn't we annex those two before? Were they not owned by the same individual? I'm confused as to why one general annexation wasn't requested in the first place.
So that annexation of the middle part was done so many years ago, decades ago. And so the other two, these are just little Weld County enclaves that have just been continued to go on for a while.
Okay. I appreciate it, and I think, there are benefits to the city for sure, as well as the applicant, one being we could have some compliance enforcement at that point in time. I appreciate them showing the desire to come into the city, and I hope that that would continue. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit concerned that by annexing in, that may stop that motivation. So that's kind of to Councilwoman Spears' point. I would like to understand what carrot we could dangle to continue to have that motivation to get things cleaned up. I don't want to burden our staff with continual code enforcement issues, and that is a general concern of mine. So if we were to annex this in, a big piece for me would be having some sort of agreement, whether it be part of that development agreement or something that really adds some specificity as to how to bring the property into compliance.
I have more discussion on that after we finish our questions.
So, quick question for you. So, based on the code enforcement issue, which was just discussed, I'm assuming that our code and our code enforcement standards are a lot stricter than the county's, correct?
I have not looked at for unincorporated property, and it is, and this is zoned agriculture versus coming into the city and having it be zoned urban commercial. Yes, the standards are a lot more strict.
So since our standards are a lot more strict, and with those other two parcels that are not in the city, then we would be able to enforce landscaping, signage, and everything where they couldn't in the county, correct? So therefore, it will be uniformic across, correct?
It will be uniform under one jurisdiction, under one set of standards going across the board.
Councilmember Morton.
I had some questions I thought would get asked but didn't. Well, kind of yours did. One of them was how long had they owned the property? That was one of my questions. And like everybody said, why all of a sudden, which I understand. But my other two questions were, number one, do we know for sure if the county ever sent them any violations? And if so, were those ignored until this thought of coming into the city of Evans came about? Because that, again, plays into that. Are they just doing it to get in and then, chill out again? And then my other question was, you did mention some of the buildings may be coming down. Is that because there might be some on there that aren't permitted, maybe?
They could be just really old outbuildings that just need to come down. And Councilwoman Mortensen, if I'm not mistaken, one of the applicants' representative is actually the former code enforcement officer for Weld County that was handling this particular case that she and I had a lot of conversations about. So I don't know if she can speak to what she did in her role with the county or not, but I just wanted you to know that Hannah is in the audience.
That might be a question for her.
Let's actually have her come up and answer the question.
Yeah, that's great, but while she's coming up, what have we done with our section?
Mr. Ariano has been contacted several times and has been asked repeatedly to remove the cars from the trail, which he is in the process of doing. He has had weed violations, which do get remedied. He has had some unlicensed vehicle violations that have been remedied. There are a few still left, but in the photos, you can see that a lot of them have been removed. So he does respond.
After a couple of requests?
I don't know the frequency of the
Well, you
requests.
said that he had several, so. Several's more than one.
Want to come up and see if you can address any of those questions that have been asked?
Yes, my name is Kelsey Bruxford with Ag Professionals, 3050 67th Avenue. I have a presentation that I hope will speak to a lot of these questions, and then Hannah is here to answer additional questions about code enforcement. So if you'd bear with me while I run through some of the same stuff that Ann did. We are requesting annexation of the 5 parcels and in conjunction establishment of the zoning district for the 85 RCR district. And again, this is the vicinity map for the property. The property was developed in the mid-1950s, and the city has kind of grown around it over time, which is why some of the parcels are in unincorporated Weld County. Uses that surround the site do include the Sinclair gas station, Automart used dealership, outdoor storage, and then the Brantner Industrial Park. And we were actually able to find a photo from 1969, and that does show that the buildings were built at that time. They were built sometime in the 50s. And this shows the existing city limits. So the middle 3 have already been annexed. And really bringing the remaining in does just bring it under the city's jurisdiction and provides Evans more control over the site. And here are the adjacent annexations. So the Benson annexation occurred in 1992. And then the Carroll annexation was in 2008. And then this is the current zoning map. Part of the reason for this specific zone district is it was recommended by staff, and it is adjacent to the 85 RCR district. So that's just a closer look at existing zoning in the area. And then the Highway 85 overlay district also comes into play. Which is why we went with the 85 RCR instead of straight commercial or industrial zoning. Again, recommended by staff to be more in compliance with the land use maps that were developed for this site. So this is the 2014 comprehensive plan land use map, which shows a mix of commercial industrial uses. And then the updated 2020 master plan, which shows commercial industrial uses in the area. Sorry, there's a delay on the clicker. And we're not talking about the SUP today. That's a separate case that will be brought before you. But we did submit the annexation, zoning, and special use permit application concurrently. The SUP is a more complicated process. It's taking us longer to get through the final steps of approval. But this is our illustrative plan that I think speaks a little clearer as to what the proposed improvements are. A big initial focus will be replacing the fencing, adding additional landscaping, getting the site cleaned out. And then there's going to be paved parking, more site organization that occurs on site. For the drainage, because of the history of the property, the site actually sits lower than the adjacent roadways. So it's hard to figure out how to get the water out. Currently it's gravel, so everything infiltrates. So we've just been working with Evans Engineering on various mechanisms to do that. We've settled on tying into storm sewer and West Service Road with some water quality devices before it enters the sewer. So actually had a call yesterday. I think we're in agreement finally with the drainage design. But that is the long-term SUP, and hopefully you'll be hearing that shortly. And then for the annexation and zoning that's in front of you, we do meet the approval criteria for that request. And significant improvements will be made through the SUP. The annexation and zoning facilitates that process. And also, yes, the property is in violation. We were contacted to help assist with the violation process, met with Weld County and the city, and came up with a plan for what to do about it. And that is the annexation, the zoning, and the SUP. So there's certainly mechanisms, and with the amount of conversations we've been having with the city, I don't see it going by the wayside. So I am happy to take any questions that you have.
How long has he owned the property?
I think he purchased various parcels at different times. He was leasing a piece, did some lease to own, and I think over time has acquired various different pieces. I don't have the years and that information with me.
If I may, I'm looking at the Weld County website now, and these are properties that are formerly owned by Gene Brantner. And Mr. Ariano purchased some of the parcels around 2013, so he's had them about 10 years. And as you saw from the historic photo, it's been occurring in this type of use since the 60s or the 50s.
Oh, and I do have one more thing I forgot to mention. The southern portion does have a Weld County non-conforming use. If he were to move vehicles just from West Service Road to inside the fence, he would not be in violation and can continue to operate without any changes. It doesn't really make a lot of sense because of the other improvements and how the site is small and really needs to be done together. But that would be another option, is to say, well, we'll just leave the southern piece in the county and not do anything. I think this is in the best benefit of really all parties involved.
Any other additional questions?
So Ag Pro Specialist is, what's your position with them? I mean, are you managing the property, or are you intending to have it cleaned up to sell, or what's Ag Pro Specialist?
We're consultants, so I'm the land planner that's running the project. We have planning, engineering, real estate, surveying services. So we were contracted to help. It's not a process that you can really do without some significant legal and engineering support.
Thank you. Any other additional questions?
Couple of things. So that helps. I think contracting with a specialist does speak some more to really being serious about this. So, I think that's good. My only question is, and this is more for you, when we get to the special use permit application, that seems like it will come fairly quickly, hopefully. Does that give us the ability to set guidelines and timelines on certain things? I know that the design that you showed was fantastic. We really had something like that, great. But remind me, is that a process that allows us to set kind of timeframes around that?
It does. The development agreement for greenfield development and brownfield, which this is a redevelopment project, establishes an option for phasing, and that is included in normally in Exhibit C to the development agreement, is a phasing plan on when things will be brought into compliance, such as the fencing, the landscaping, paving, connection to the stormwater system, connection to the sanitary sewer system. We can phase that. You have the ability during that hearing on the development agreement to try to expedite things as well. The applicant will present to you what we have negotiated with city staff and the applicant, and what we feel is a realistic expectations, but during that public hearing process, you can actually ask for that to be sped up and ask the applicant if they are able to do that.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. All right, so we'll wait and have more questions regarding that and the compliance if we decide to annex it. So are there any other questions regarding the annexation from staff? No. All right, so thank you, appreciate it. All right, since this is a public hearing, I'm going to ask if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to come up and address City Council in favor of this. And seeing none, if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to speak against this, please come forward. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and council discussion.
Well, I had mixed emotions, and I think I've kind of come to where I stand on this. As you guys probably know, I would like to see a lot of the areas that are infill areas from the county that are inside our city limits annexed into the city so that we do have some control of that. And I'm also a proponent of having the city have annexed property to the river. I wasn't for this annexation just because of the problems that are, obviously there. But I think where I'm at now is that I think I would like to have it annexed in with the what do I want to say? I'd like to annex it in, but I also think that we have control over the special use permit. And that's where we can hold that. If you want a special use permit, then things need to be cleaned up. And again, that's a future conversation, but I'm always, you clean it up first and then ask. But as far as the annexation goes, I'm for the annexation with the hopes that we don't linger on the code enforcement part. I know, and the city always been really lenient on that, and it's bit us in the rear end a couple of times. And I think a sign at this place is more visible. So I'm leaning towards the annexation then.
Yeah, I would agree. I think to the same point, I didn't really know at first. But knowing that we can move forward with the SUP when that time comes, and that gives us a little more of an ability to help ensure it's brought up to a standard for which we would desire is great. But really, I think beyond that, not annexing it doesn't give us anything. And in fact, it probably deters the applicant from future development or really cleaning it up. So I think giving them the ability to really clean up that one large parcel and get it to a standard is beneficial. So I'm in favor.
I'd like to see us be a little less lenient.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If we're annexing in, we've got certain code criteria, and it needs to be stringent. I mean, we cannot be using it as ebb and flow and whim on when we're going to be authoritative on our code and when we're going to allow someone to clean up at their own leisure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. When I first heard this, I was for it just for the city to have control, more control over the, cleanup and things like that. Hearing some of the things tonight, I was like, oh my goodness. But overall, I'm glad that we have that ability with the plan to put those hard dates in there and whatnot. Just as a follow-up for that, it looks like it'll be at our next meeting for that part of it. Is that correct? No, that's a continuance. Yep. So, but if I looked at the dates on the slide correctly, that might be something we look at then. Is that correct? Or is that something different?
The day after we publish the packet, the applicant's representative will be requesting tonight more time than December 6th.
Okay.
So, and maybe that will be resolved a bit due to reaching a beneficial conclusion on the drainage issue.
Sure. Perfect. All right. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes. First, let me respond to Mayor Pro Tem's comments. This is typical annexation. Evans and Greeley have haphazardly been asked to annex properties into their respective jurisdictions from the county. And I still, after 42 years, I've still got a section of land on 17th Avenue on the west side that's in the county that causes trouble. My main concern, I think, in this annexation is that this is in the floodplain, and that could also be why they're considering removing some of the outbuildings due to some of the water damage from that. I don't know. It could just be old storage buildings that they want to get out of the way so they can do their parking area. It's tentatively, from what I've heard so far, sounds like they really want to develop this, improve it, and I'm certainly all for that.
Councilor Providence, do you have anything?
Yeah, I have some little, I agree with my council members that we able to annex this property. See, overall, it's for beautification of Evans. I remember that piece of property in the corner. We used to have a lot of RVs over there and a lot of used cars. I personally see the improvement. Hopefully, we get control of that and we can continue to develop it with the owner and other properties we can acquire within this other city limits. So I agree with you guys.
All right, so I'm also in favor of this too. At first, I was a little hesitant on that, but one of the things I like is that we can have control of it over the city, especially what we're looking and envisioning along the 85 corridor. This will give us control to make sure that it looks pleasing aesthetically. So when people are driving in, along the 85 corridor as we're trying to develop that, it's going to look nice and uniform across that. That's one of the reasons why I'm in favor of this.
Agree.
If it complies. If there's no other additional comments from council, I would entertain a motion.
Upon review of the criteria for approval found in Title 18 of the Municipal Code and Planning Commission's findings, I move to approve Resolution 29-2022 to annex 2 parcels of land associated with Jose Arellano properties into the city of Evans on first reading. I further move to approve Ordinance 783-22 zoning the parcels to 85-RC-R on first reading and direct staff to change the official zoning map for the city of Evans.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the criteria for approval found in Title 18 of the Municipal Code and Planning Commission's findings to approve resolution number 29-2022 to annex 2 parcels of land associated with Jose Arellano properties into the city of Evans on first reading, and move to approve ordinance number 783-22 zoning the parcels to 85-RC-R on first reading and direct staff to change the official zoning map for the city of Evans. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Moving on, item number 8, public hearing, consideration of continuance of request of the public hearing on resolution number 30-2022 for the Arellano special use permit application from November 15th through December 6, 2022. I'll open the public hearing and we'll hear from staff.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we've already started discussing this item. Because of the desire, the tradition of trying to bring you the special use permit and the development agreement together, both of those are taking more time than they're allowed to bring you tonight. So Angel Snyder, our senior city planner, will describe the applicant's request to continue this until both those items can be completed and presented to you.
Yes, thank you, Angela Snyder, Community Development. As you've heard before, we've been having some issues with the drainage design on this property, and so that is why we do not have a development agreement ready for you tonight. So in an effort to get everything, and if the drainage needs to be changed, then the site plan needs to be changed, which is what you're approving with the special use permit. So to bring you a nice package of a special use permit and development agreement that match and are ready to go, we would like to continue this. The original continuance here says December 6th, but I believe the applicant will be requesting more time, and I can leave it up to them to what that requested future date is.
Any questions from staff?
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. So really quick for this, So when we motion to continue this, do we have to motion to December 6th, or can we ask the applicant and motion to a date that's more
I believe
advantageous?
it's to a date certain, correct?
Yeah, you can ask the applicant to extend it further. If you want to make sure that they consent to whatever day you extend it to. And if they're going to extend it anyway, then it probably makes sense to ask them if they're okay with extending it to a further date.
Perfect, yeah.
That was gonna be my question. It seems like we've already continued this at least 2 or 3 times, so I'd like to find a date. If the applicants here can kind of give us an idea of when might be a good.
Yeah, we're generally requesting 3 months for the continuance. We think it'll be done quicker, but we are respectful of your time, and we apologize that we've gone through so many continuances. I think hindsight is 2020. If we had known that the development agreement and all the requirements were to occur at the same time as the SUP, we wouldn't have asked for the public hearing to be scheduled. There's just, the process, I think, is going as planned. We just didn't realize that the development agreement needed to be perfected at the same time. So we think 3 months is more than adequate to accomplish finishing that up. I received attorney comments from our attorney yesterday. Need to review those and forward them back to Evans for additional negotiation. And we do need final approval of the site design before we can do the cost estimates and the phasing plan with the development agreement. So there's just a few details that need to be hammered out so the request that you get is complete and we're not coming back here and asking for an extra couple weeks or month.
So my question to you is, you're suggesting 3 months, let's see, December 10th. What happens if we look at February 7th, that we have a council meeting on that day? Do you think that might be an appropriate time frame?
Yep, that would be fine.
Yep, exactly.
All right, is there any other additional questions of the applicant and or staff?
Nope.
Seeing none, because it's a public hearing, if anybody wishes to come up and address city council in favor or not in favor of this item, please step forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. If there's not any comments, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the applicant's request for a continuance of the public hearing on resolution number 30-2022 to consider the Ariano special use permit to February 7th, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the applicant's request for a continuance of the public hearing on resolution number 30-2022 to consider the Ariano special use permit to February 7th, 2023. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Moving on, item number 9, public hearing, consideration of change of location for a retail liquor store license for Naughty Pine Liquor Incorporated, doing business as Naughty Pine Liquor at 3304 37th Street in Evans. I will open the public hearing and we will hear from staff.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'll let our City Clerk, Julie Kemp, discuss this change of location application that's before you.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Naughty Pine Liquor, Inc. had submitted an application to change their location in conjunction with the new building that is going in over at the Hunters Reserve subdivision. So they have placed their application. We filed the public hearing notice in the newspaper. They placed the sign on the property. They provided proof that they have possession of the premises. They are in compliance currently with our local, state, and zoning codes. They were approved for a land use permit, which has been recorded, and the land use permit will be finalized prior to the certificate of occupancy and liquor license for the change of location being issued. The new location is not within 500 feet of any public or parochial school. There has not been a previous denial for this location within the last 2 years. Their needs and desires petitions were submitted that indicated 102 residences in favor of the proposed change of location, 0 opposed, and we deemed 14 addresses were non-viable because they were outside the 1 mile boundary that was established for the neighborhood. And so here, we're here for the public hearing. Staff recommends approval of the change of location license. And I will be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
Nope.
All right, seeing none. Because this is a public hearing, I wish, ask anybody in the audience that wishes to come speak in favor of this, please come forward, state your name, address. Is anybody opposed? Same as well?
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, so I am Anthony Belfiore, so I am the owner of Naughty Pine Liquor, and I just wanted to say a few things to you guys. As she said, we've followed all of the regulations. It's kind of interesting tonight that we talked a little bit about small businesses, since we've been a small business in the city of Evans for 17 years, going on our 18th year. We also talked a little bit about violations, which we have had none in our 17 years, which is also a big impression thing that we put on our employees. And it shows that they're being responsible. We've always been responsible with our responsibility to take care of the liquor and the alcohol. And I just wanted to make sure that, that you guys understand that, it was a big thing 17 years ago for my family to come into the city of Evans and bring this store in. And now it's going to be a bigger thing with the second generation, with my boys being co-owners in the new building. And you guys have driven by it, hopefully. It's coming along. I think it's beautiful. There's going to be 2 buildings there, which hopefully will bring you 7 more retail stores that'll collect the $1 million that we've collected in the 17 years that we've been here. So I just wanted to let you know that we appreciate being part of Evans, and we plan to be part of Evans for a long time. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other additional questions from the audience for or against this? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and any comments from council?
I am pleased to see this. I actually drive by there multiple times a day because I live right there. And my husband and I were just commenting that we hoped it was Naughty Pine moving, simply because it is such a nice family establishment, always very kind, and such a strong business to have in the city. And so to see that move into really that prime location with a really nice drive-through will be fantastic versus struggling our way through that we do now. So really looking forward to it. Appreciate your kind words, and really, I just have to say, appreciate you staying in the city of Evans. We're so pleased to have you and really excited about this move.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I mean, when you outgrow your location and you have a chance to move, it is just phenomenal that they chose to build and actually add more to the city. And that's a great business, and it's always great to have the family generations taking it over too. I wish my son would have taken over mine, but he doesn't like to shovel horsepower. But I just am really happy. I guess I forgot to ask when the anticipated actually move and the liquor license transfer is?
That once the new building is complete and they get a certificate of occupancy issued for that new location, I will already have submitted this to the state for their approval. So once that gets issued, their change of location can just transfer over to the new location. They may be issued a new license number. I'm not sure what their timeline. I believe they're thinking maybe early next spring.
Okay.
February.
Great. Anyways, again, thank you very much, and we're very happy to have you here.
Mark, I just have a curiosity question for the applicant.
We already done questions. We've already closed the public hearing, so it's comments.
Oh, well, okay. Yep.
All right. Any
just curiosity.
So no, I'm glad you guys are expanding. I'm glad you're staying in Evans. It's great to see the family business is continuing in the family, and we are very glad and appreciative that you are here in Evans. So I'm in favor of this. So, any other additional comments?
One thing, sir, I didn't realize this is a family venture, and I'm very happy to see that. As I said, I made Evans my home and hope to continue, the further generation continue. You can serve the community, and I just hopefully the traffic would able to move much freely adjacent from the car wash. So, all right, thank you, sir, for your business here.
Any other comments? I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the change of location for the retail liquor store license for Naughty Pine Liquor Incorporated, doing business as Naughty Pine Liquor, located at 3304 37th Street, Unit 1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the change of location for the retail liquor store license for Naughty Pine Liquor Incorporated, doing business as Naughty Pine Liquor, located at 3304 37th Street, Unit number 1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Next item on the agenda, item number 10, consideration of ordinance number 782-22, adopting by reference the 2018 International Energy Conservation Code, first reading. We'll hear from staff.
Yes, the city attorney actually introduced this item to you when he mentioned that House Bill 22-1362 was approved earlier this year, that does mandate a minimum energy code as part of municipalities' adoption of the International Building Code. So with us this evening with Heather Utada, who's our building technician, and our chief building official, here to describe this 2018 energy code that is proposed for your adoption.
Thank you so much, and good evening, Mayor Clark and members of council, and thank you for your time this evening as we talk about some new energy code requirements in Evans. As we are looking to adopt a new energy code by reference, we will also need to set a public hearing date after the first hearing per section 7.11 of our charter, and staff proposes that this hearing and second reading be on December 6th of this year. Is there a clicker for the presentation? Is there a clicker?
The clicker? I don't know what happened. It was over there.
I might still be.
Thank you, Anne. I apologize.
Yeah, or somebody took it for a souvenir.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So as Randy mentioned, House Bill 22-1362 passed on August 10th of this year, and it did establish a minimum energy code that all jurisdictions in the state are going to be required to adopt at the amendment or adoption of any other building code. And the state has set up kind of a three-phase timeline that is noted here. And in order to have a little more flexibility in choosing a code that's going to work best for Evans and for our development community, staff is hoping to adopt a newer version of the energy code prior to that first deadline of July 1st of 2023. That will give us the opportunity to choose between the 2015, 2018, and 2021 versions of the code, rather than limiting our options to only the 2021 code if we wait a little bit later. In July of this year, staff invited builders and developers to meet and discuss the options for a potential new energy code. And throughout that discussion and some prior research, staff learned that most other jurisdictions in the area have already adopted the 2018 energy code, and that most builders in the area are already building to that standard. So we all agreed in that meeting, developers, builders, and staff, that the 2018 code was definitely the most practical to be looking at this time. And this table that we have up here shows the differences between the 6 most recent versions of the energy code, and you'll notice kind of a steady progression in efficiency as the codes become more recent. The city is currently on the 2012 version of the code, which is highlighted in blue. And a move to the 2018 version, which is highlighted in yellow, changes 2 main things. The fenestration U factor, which measures the efficiency of windows and doors, and again, most builders are already kind of building to this standard. And then also the addition of a round of tests that would ensure the level of efficiency that is supposed to be achieved is actually being achieved. And regarding these new tests, there are a few factors that could kind of affect the costs, but some initial high estimates for the total cost of all the tests together was about $1,500 per new home. So
At this time, staff is not recommending the 2021 version of the code because while it only has 2 more changes, those changes would result in much higher costs to builders. According to Bessler, that was about $22,000 per new home. And of course, that could be passed on to the buyers in Evans. So there's more to consider besides cost, though. You know, with any new code adoption, there are new standards that builders and their entire teams need to learn. So with the 2018 version, we can keep those changes fairly minimal and consistent with our neighboring communities and kind of keep that transition smooth as we're moving toward what the state is requiring. I do think it's important to note that there will be a time that we'll need to adopt a much stricter and more recent code per this new House bill. But like I mentioned, staff and builders and developers all agreed that 2018, that version was going to be the most practical at this time. And that really does conclude my presentation. We have our building official from Safe Built here. For those of you who haven't met him, this is Rob Godin. He has been our building official since March of this year. And we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments for staff?
Do we know when the, when we would have to update again?
Did you say 2025, Rob?
Yes, we're currently working on we adopt every other code cycle, okay, not every version of the code, which is on a 3-year cycle. So we're currently on the 2018 code. Our intention would be to adopt the 2024 code, okay, bypassing the 2021 code. We have, as a group, determined that it's really not necessary to adopt every 3 years. It creates a lot of work for the design community, the design professionals, as well as the building community, and of course everyone in this room. But generally, by the time the second cycle comes, there's enough substance there in the change, in the progression and evolution of the code that it makes sense to give it serious consideration and adopt at that point in time, sometimes with some local amendments due to that consideration. So the 2024 code, based on our forecast, would more than likely be adopted probably around July of 2025, which would fall right in the middle of this time frame we were given of July 1, 2023 to July 1, 2026, in which we would have to act and upgrade the energy code in the process.
Perfect, thank you. I appreciate it. That was all I had.
Any additional questions, comments for staff? It's pretty straightforward to me. Definitely don't want to add $22,000 on to the cost of already high cost as it is now. There are no other additional questions or comments. I entertain a motion.
I'm trying to find it. I move to approve ordinance number 782-22 on first reading and set the public hearing for Tuesday, December 6th, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 782-22 on first reading and set the public hearing for Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Skipping item number 11, going to item number 12. Consideration of resolution number 40-2022 in support of the Northern Colorado Conservation District Collaborative Water Efficient Landscaping Grant to fund water conserving landscape improvements at the City of Evans Community Complex, and we'll hear from staff.
Yes, this item is actually the 4th of these grants that the city has received, hopes to receive anyway, from the Northern Water Conservation District in cooperation with the Denver Botanic Gardens. Justine Schoenbacher, our water conservation coordinator for the last couple of years, has been involved in the previous one and has been instrumental in putting this together. One of the requirements for that grant application is that there be a resolution of support from City Council. So Justine can describe the work that's being proposed for the next year, hopefully our 4th consecutive year of getting this grant.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Mayor Clark and members of council. As Randy mentioned, I am here requesting support for our 4th application of the Northern Colorado Conservancy District Collaborative Water Efficient Landscaping Grant. This will be a continuation of the projects that we've been doing here at the community complex. The map should be in your agenda report. We're continuing south down the front of the building to keep working on some nice new landscaping. We've already seen water reductions from our landscapes that we've already put in, which are still being established, which means that once they are established, they'll be using even less water. And the design has been done once again by the Denver Botanic Gardens. And they just came and visited our new installation and again raved about it. Really said that they enjoyed working with Evans and that they're excited to put this next stage in place should we receive grant funding. The match is required at 50%, and we do have that $20,000 budgeted in the operations budget for 2023. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Any questions or comments, staff? No?
Sounds great.
Sounds good to me. Definitely in favor. So
Yes.
if there's no questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 40-2022 and authorize the interim city manager to sign the Northern Colorado Water Conservation District grant application form.
Second.
Motion and second to approve resolution number 40-2022 and authorize the interim city manager to sign the Northern Colorado Water Conservation District grant application form. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, item number 13, consideration of resolution number 39-2022, accepting the conveyance of a right-of-way from the Colorado Department of Transportation. We'll hear from staff.
Yes, for the last several months, our Economic Development Director, Allison Moding, has been working with CDOT on convincing them to convey a portion of a parcel of property just south of 31st Street. It's a triangular piece of property, about 1/3 of an acre. It's located between State Street and the highway. It's really of no developable use, but conveyance of this to Evans will allow us to use that for landscaping, for eventual use as part of the turnaround as State Street gets terminated in that location. Any other transportation-related purposes. I mentioned we wouldn't want to be able to develop it anyway, but this is a good deal for Evans in moving forward, giving us the control of that. I'll let Allison describe this further.
Not much else to say. I think Randy did a good job of summarizing. This is actually a parcel we've been talking to CDOT about for a couple of years, but things take time. There was a transportation committee meeting, and then there were surveys, and we're finally close to the finish line. We do have a copy of the quitclaim deed in your packet. So with your approval of the resolution, we'll proceed with the recording of that document, and then we can move on with our next steps of determining the next steps on State Street and selling the southeast corner and getting some good things moving on that side of Highway 85. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions, comments, staff?
So when is the quitclaim deed going to be filed then?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
If Jules
So we're gonna have some maintenance on that then to kind of clean it up like
yes.
Immediately? I mean, I'm not expecting, a rose garden or anything there. I would like to have, it cleaned up, weeds and trash and everything
Yep,
taken
I'll
out.
have some conversations with our operations staff. I think there are been some parking going on there. I think we're gonna have some discussions about parking, some no parking signs, and we will also have a conversation with the hotel owner who is relatively new and just let them know that there's a new sheriff in town. I certainly don't want to, I think it's logical at this point for it to continue to be used for some parking. I think it's the large trucks, the overnight parking, the things that seem to stick around for several days that probably need to stop. So.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as, if it's clean and attractive and there's a vehicle, or a truck, even a truck parked there, that's better than, weeds and trash and everything. So, but I also think that if they want to continue to use it, that maybe there might be a little bit of a trade-off with, maybe they can help keep it clean too.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's just great.
Any other additional questions or comments? If there's not, I would entertain.
I move to approve resolution 39. Hello?
Go for it.
You guys hog everything. Dash 2022, accepting the conveyance of property from CDOT and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement and the city manager to the interim city manager to sign any other necessary documents.
I'll make it good. I'll second it. It's gonna be us gonna second it, so, yeah.
There we go.
There's a motion and a second to approve resolution number 39-2022, accepting the conveyance of property from CDOT and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement and the interim city manager to sign any other necessary documents. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
No, we're just laughing because I
Laura,
didn't
I was trying to give someone else a chance.
I know.
I was shutting up for once.
All right, next item on the agenda, consideration of city manager employment agreement with Cody Sims.
So, before we get to that, if we go back to the last item, it seems like, I think the motion was to approve an agreement, but I think really all you're doing is approving a conveyance. So, we might need.
Okay, so re-resolution it?
Do it again, Laura.
Yeah.
I don't know, after the last one, I'm kind
City
of
clerk
concerned.
just pointed
All
that
the
out to me.
opportunities.
Okay, I was just reading what the
Yeah,
staff had,
it's a, yeah.
so.
So we need to change the wording on it.
So we're not gonna sign an agreement, we're gonna sign a conveyance?
So, no, I think what you would be doing would be approving resolution 40-2022. Resolution authorizing staff to submit a grant. Oh, wait a minute.
No,
that's
no,
the next
no.
one. Now I'm ahead of it.
Come on, Scott. We're doing great.
Yeah.
Vacation was supposed to spruce you up, dude.
Sometimes you need a vacation
From
from
your
vacation
vacation.
to recover from the vacation.
Yeah.
I think I did it right.
No, because all I have is the resolution and then
Accepting the conveyance.
the deed.
I don't have that one printed
We're
out.
approving the resolution though, so I think that's fine.
Yeah, we just approved a resolution, the 39-2022, accepting the conveyance of the property from CDOT
Okay.
and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement and the interim city manager to sign any other necessary documents.
Yeah, the motion authorizes the signing of an agreement, and the only thing that really is signed is an acceptance of conveyance. So when a municipality receives property, it used to be in the old days, they didn't have to accept that conveyance, but then people started just conveying things to cities and cities didn't know about it. So they added this requirement that the city actually accept the conveyance. And so what the motion should actually be, would be to approve the resolution and authorize the mayor to sign the acceptance of conveyance.
Yeah, I think that's what it said.
It said to sign the agreement.
Yeah.
Accepting the conveyance
And signing.
Yeah, there's no
and
agreement accepting.
authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement.
The conveyance,
There-
though.
there's no agreement.
Accepting the
Okay, so you want the conveyance, accept the conveyance and sign the conveyance.
So it would be to approve the resolution and authorize the mayor to sign the acceptance of conveyance.
Yep.
And you can do a so moved if you want to.
I can do it, I'm sorry,
Just say so moved.
What's that?
What'd you say?
I said you can do a so moved if you want to.
Just,
all right, so moved.
Second.
Motion is second to approve resolution number 39-2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right.
Sorry, it's those nigglies that the attorneys always try and pick on, so I appreciate that.
That's true. This is true, yeah.
Someone needs to pinch the attorney.
All right. Moving on, item number 14, consideration of city manager employment agreement with Cody Sims. We'll hear from staff.
Sure. Under the Evans City Charter, the city manager holds the office at the pleasure of the city council. As you're aware, the city has undergone an extensive nationwide search of candidates to fill the position of city manager. The city manager is responsible to the city council and serves at their pleasure. They are charged with the efficient administration of all departments within the city government other than the city attorney and the city municipal judge. As a result of that search, the Evans City Council has identified Cody Sims as its finalist. And what you have in front of you tonight is a proposed employment agreement, because one of the conditions is that the city must enter into an employment agreement with the city manager, conditioned upon the city's approval of the employment contract. A couple of the highlights, main points of the proposed contract: it's for a 2-year term with a salary of $180,000 per year plus benefits, a car allowance, and the city can terminate the agreement without cause after 6 months, but there is a 9 months severance requirement if it does that. So those are not, by no means, all of the terms of the contract, but the main ones that may be of interest to council. And with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor if he wants to elaborate on this candidate and the contract.
Sure. So, as you all know, we did our nationwide search. It was a very intensive search, had really great applicants and everything. And as you know, we all came to the conclusion, that we were going to extend the contract to Mr. Sims. And after doing some negotiation with him and talking with Mayor Pro Tem, we came up to a 2-year agreement. There was only a couple little minor changes that we made to the contract from the previous city manager's contract. It went from a 1-year to a 2-year, starting salary $180,000. We allowed, instead of 90 days, which was initially offered to move into the city, we gave them 180 days, but it sounds like they've already found a house and be closing pretty soon. Basically the same standard car allowance that we offered from the last city manager. The only other change was instead of 6 months of salary, it was 9, but all the other conditions were virtually the same. Standard 401k, the 457 account, as prescribed by Colorado statute. It was pretty easy negotiation with Mr. Sims, and I want to thank Drew, Scott, Julie Rader, Mayor Pro Tem for all of their hard work that they put into this contract, and it was pretty easy to come to an agreement. So, yeah. And I don't know if Mr. Sims is online or anything, or if he joined us.
He's listening in.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
I don't know if he wanted to make anything, say anything if he was available to. So,
I allowed him to talk. So there he is.
Cody, if you can hear me, if there's anything that you want to say about the contract or the process, I really, please feel free to do so.
That's perfect, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just want to thank the Evans City Council, Mayor Clark, for the opportunity to get to this point in the recruitment. I've certainly enjoyed getting to know everybody, and as Mayor Clark indicated, I think it was a very simple negotiation. I'm ready to get out there and get started. I know my family's ready to get out there and join the community. And as Mayor Clark indicated, we have found a house. We've got a contract on. We're planning to close middle of December. So I'm appreciative of the 180 days, but I think I'm going to be able to be an Evans resident from day one. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yes.
That's
Great.
great.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having you.
Yeah, looking forward to having you here as well. Any questions, comments, anything?
I just want to say that this is the second city manager that I've been involved in the process of hiring. And as a citizen representative, it's really important, but it's also very stressful for everybody involved. And I just hope that when we hired the last city manager, he took us in a great direction and got a lot done for the city. And I hope that Cody coming in takes us in an even higher direction. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do for us.
One of the things I definitely want to say is I agree with what Councilmember Spear just said, but I also want to say, thank you to Randy. Your professionalism through this entire process has been great. You are a valuable asset to the city. This is no reflection on you, any of the staff, or anything like that may be feeling that way. As mentioned, we thought maybe that this was a different direction that we wanted to go and take us into the future, going forward. And, we really do know that there's a lot of staff that's, feeling some pressure. And I know with, change comes a lot of uncertainty, but please understand that we value each and every one of you. And, Randy, and the rest of the staff, that we want you to continue, doing everything that you've been doing for the city. And just welcome Cody into our community and make him feel part of the team and help him through his learning curve as we go forward. So I want to say I appreciate everybody's professionalism in this entire process. So, thank you very much. And Cody, we're definitely looking forward to having you coming out here, and looking forward to having the family out here. And I hope the process with your wife, especially transferring her teaching license out here, is going smoothly, and hopefully she can get into Anaheim, if that's where it's looking at going. So.
Yes, sir. She's making good progress on getting her teacher's license transferred out to Colorado. She's been in contact with District 6 representatives, and so she is in the process of getting all the information sent out there to the Colorado Department of Education right now. So certainly high priority to get her out there and integrated into the community as well.
It's fantastic.
That's wonderful. Yeah. The only thing I want to echo is just, while the negotiations went smoothly, the process itself, while smooth, was incredibly detailed and time-consuming. And I think Mayor Clark and I saw a piece of that pie. Julie really did so much work. I'm telling you, she would know exactly how to reach us. She would, anytime we had a question, you were available, Julie. And I don't know that I can thank you enough for the level of work that you poured into the city during that time. And it was a lot. So I just want to say thank you a million times over. I hope you got or take a huge vacation. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your level of leadership and servant leadership during that time, and your ability to lean in and lift up the city and do it with a smile on your face every day. I would have been a lot crabbier, but you did a great job. So
even
thank
at 10 o'clock
you.
at night.
Yes, always. So thank you very much for
Yes,
that.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
If there are no other.
I just want to say, I don't think it was stressed enough. I know you mentioned it, but thank you very much, Randy, for taking the helm and being willing to step in there, and for applying too.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate everything that you've done for us.
Agreed.
And the city.
Yep. And we hope that doesn't change either. So.
Very much so.
Yep. There are no any other questions, comments? I'd entertain a motion.
I'm not reading it on a motion.
I move to approve the city manager employment agreement to retain Cody Sims as the city's next city manager, and to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement and make any non-substantive clerical changes.
I second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the city manager employment agreement to retain Cody Sims as the city's next city manager, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement and make any non-substantive changes, clerical changes. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Well, welcome, Cody. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I certainly appreciate it.
If you need anything, let us know, and feel free to reach out to staff as well. So.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good
sir.
evening. All right. All right, moving on. Reports. City manager.
I do have one bit of good news. Actually, it's a great bit of good news. Thank you to the police department, the staff that put together the grant application that you approved last month for the Safe Street grant. We had applied for $600,000 to do a good number of street lights in the neighborhood just north of us here. We got the tremendous news today that not only did we get the $600,000, they awarded the city $870,000, which is about a tenth of the amount available statewide. They really liked our grant application, appreciated the city council support. So that will go a long way toward improving the safety, the lighting on this east side of town, just north of us here, including the hotel district. So, great job, staff.
Yeah, fantastic job. Okay. City attorney.
Just one item, just to briefly update you, you may have heard that there was a slight mishap with a Chevron pipeline a couple weeks ago, and Chevron and the excavator developer are, I guess you can say at this point, cooperating and addressing the problem under the auspices of the careful auspices of the DCPHE, the Department of Health. The contaminated materials have been removed and put in a pile and are being trucked off, should be finished this week. The hole has been filled. There are monitoring wells in place, and I think now it's mostly an issue between the construction developer on one side and Chevron on the other. It's just who's going to pay for all of the costs associated so far, and I think rightfully so. The city has been sort of on the sidelines of those discussions, and my goal is to leave the city on the sidelines. So that's the latest update. I don't have anything else at this time.
All right, thank you. All right, audience participation. Is anybody in the audience that wishes to address City Council on any item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I move to go into executive session to discuss possible acquisition of real property for a new police facility and to instruct negotiators in connection with the possible acquisition of such real property pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-402, subsection 4A and E.
Second. Motion and second to go into executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes, and we will go into an executive session.
I don't know where all the seconders over there are. They're all shy.